This podcast contains graphic descriptions, explicit language, and audio clips that may be disturbing to some audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Robert Louis Stevenson wrote a novella called The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The long and short of the story, without going into too much detail, is about a man with a dual personality. Dr. Jekyll is a well-to-do individual and is supposed to be the representation of a good person, while Mr. Hyde is the pure embodiment of evil. Even his features, while resembling Dr. Jekyll ever so slightly, they take on more of a primitive look. Throughout the story, Jekyll tries to keep Hyde at bay, but it proves to be extremely difficult. This is just fiction and not fact, though. We know that a person cannot physically transform into a monster. Our features cannot drastically change when our true nature takes hold of us. However, maybe a comparable transformation doesn't occur on the outside, but on the inside. And maybe Stevenson never realized that his tale would have a baseline of fact when it comes to the story we're about to discuss. You're listening to The Apex and the Abyss, and this is the story of Colonel Russell Williams.
He was a killer with the ultimate cover. As a base commander in the Canadian Air Force, Colonel Russell Williams comforted families of the fallen, rubbed shoulders with the Prime Minister, and even flew planes for the Queen. But no one, including his wife, knew that he was also a sexual deviant, burglar, rapist, and murderer.
This story's main player is a man by the name of Russell Williams. On paper, before his crimes were revealed, Russell was a motivated and accomplished man. Per the Canadian Forces website, long before his profile was taken down, it read, Colonel Russ Williams enrolled in the Canadian Forces in 1987 after obtaining a degree in economics and political sciences from the University of Toronto. He received his wings in 1990 and was a flight instructor for 2 years on the CT-134 Beach Musketeer. By 1999, he was promoted to major and was a multi-engine pilot career manager. From 2003 to 2004, he attended the Canadian Forces Command and Staff courses, and he received a Master's of Defense Studies from the Royal Military College. After obtaining this master's, he was promoted to lieutenant colonel. In January of 2009, he was promoted to colonel after attending the Canadian Forces Language School for 6 months. The final line of his profile reads, a keen photographer, fisherman, and runner. Colonel Williams and his wife Mary Elizabeth are also avid golfers. But like previously stated, on paper, Russell Williams is a decorated colonel in the Canadian Forces. He's well known and respected amongst his colleagues, peers, and subordinates. He was loved and cherished by his wife. He seemed like a truly wonderful man. What no one realized was that Colonel Russell Williams was leading a double life. A life filled with stalking, obsession, fetish, and murder.
It's a tragedy. And the fact now that this has been identified as someone who might be from this area, I think is...
Russell Williams was born in England on March 7, 1963, to Christine and Cedric Williams. Russell's father would accept a job at Chalk River Laboratories in Chalk River, Ontario, in Canada, which prompted the family to emigrate to the Great White North. Not long after the family moved, the Williams welcomed another son named Harvey into the world. An odd situation occurred when Russell was a young boy. After his family had moved to Canada, his parents would befriend the Sovkas family. Dr. Jerry Sovkas and his wife would get close to Cedric and Christine, so much so that when Russell's parents divorced when he was just 6 years old, his mother would begin dating and eventually marry Jerry Sovkas. He had divorced his wife as well. Russell felt a close bond with his new stepfather. He would even for a time take Jerry's last name and become Russ Sovkas. When it comes to Russell's childhood, this is just about the most significant thing to occur. From all accounts, he grew up in a healthy and happy home. Russell's mother and stepfather traveled frequently for work. While he was in high school, he would eventually get enrolled in a boarding school to complete his education while his parents were in South Korea. He did spend a year abroad with them, but he would later state that the experience was not pleasant. Later, at the boarding school back in Canada, Russell thrived. He was even made a prefect during his last year of school. Allegedly, Russell tended to keep to himself by just playing his trumpet or study for his classes. At boarding school, despite the fact that he received good grades, he seemed to be a loner. After Russell graduated from high school, he enrolled at the University of Toronto. Again, while at the university, he excelled academically. He majored in economics and political sciences and received high marks in his classes. It seemed that going to college changed Russell. Russell would state that during this time he was mischievous and a practical joker. He loved playing pranks on people. But his roommate would sing a different tune in the beginning. When Russell first arrived at the school, he was rigid and cold, but something shifted. He became more lighthearted and decided to try and be a part of a group versus on the outside. During his time in college, Russell also went back to calling himself Russell Williams. However, the reasoning behind this is unknown. Perhaps because he was trying to evolve into a different person, he wanted to change everything down to his name. A new persona, perhaps. Some of the pranks that Russell would play on people wouldn't give a person a second thought, but what we would later find out about Russell, it gives off a different feeling. One particular prank sticks out. One evening, Russell's roommate arrived back to their room late in the evening. Russell hid in the closet and waited. His roommate sat at his desk and began to study. The roommate would later state that he was sitting there for at least a half hour before Russell came bursting out of the closet, effectively scaring the bejesus out of his friend. Again, this seems fun and innocent, but could it be a precursor to what Russell would become? During his time in school, it was noted that Russell's family was not a big part of his life. His biological father had moved to the U.S. for work, and his stepfather and mother worked often in Korea. His roommate recalls bringing up his parents' divorce and that it was a painful topic for Russell to speak about, as it typically would be for most children coming from that type of situation. Also, during college, Russell would have a girlfriend, but when the relationship ended, he was incredibly heartbroken and sullen. He would attempt to win her affections back, but it would be no use. He would begin going to her classes and following her around campus. It got to the point where she had to speak to his roommate to get him to stop. By 1987, Russell Williams joined the Canadian Forces, and in 1990 he received his flying wings. Soon thereafter, he would go to Manitoba and be a flight instructor for 2 years. During this time, Russell would find love again. He would meet and become involved with a woman named Mary Elizabeth Harriman. The pair would wed in 1991. Within the same year, Russell would rise to the rank of captain. Russell's time in the military was nothing short of spectacular. He flew numerous successful missions and received promotion after promotion. He was respected and adored by those who knew him. He was a star military official and nothing was in his way. By 1999, he was promoted to major and was transferred to Ottawa to be a multi-engine pilot career manager. A few years later, in 2004, he would don the title of Lieutenant Colonel and become the commanding officer of the 437 Transport Squadron at the Canadian Forces Base in Trenton. By 2009, Russell Williams would become commander of the 8-Wing Trenton. From 2004 to 2009, Russell would fly relief workers to the Gulf Coast to help people affected by Hurricane Katrina. He would work a secret mission on the Persian Gulf, and he would even fly Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip while they visited Canada. Besides his thriving career, Russell's personal life was also splendid. He and his wife opted to not have children, so it was just the two of them, and they appeared to be very happy. They shared similar interests and hobbies. They were always seen showing each other affection and smiling. The appearance of a very healthy and balanced couple. In December of 2009, the couple had purchased Mary Elizabeth's dream home in Ottawa, something that Russell was ecstatic to give her. Russell still worked at the base in Trenton during this time, which was an almost 3-hour drive from Ottawa. So to ease the burden of his travel, Russell and his wife had purchased a home in Tweed, Ontario, which is only about 45 minutes away from Russell's base. Russell would spend the week at his cottage in Tweed, and then on the weekends he would either drive to Trenton to spend with his wife, or Mary Elizabeth would go to the cottage on the weekends. Not a typical or ideal scenario, but one that worked for them. They were extremely successful within their careers and very busy, so this schedule worked for them, and despite the long distance and the separation, they were still very happy. However, this allowed Russell to have copious amounts of alone time in which he used to stalk and burglarize from homes. From 2007 to 2010, Russell Williams would commit unthinkable crimes. As he was continuing on his trajectory of a rising military star, he was also breaking and burglarizing homes in his surrounding area. But what he stole, and the acts he did within these homes, is what makes him unique. Williams would wait until he was covered by the darkness of night before he would creep along the side of homes, sometimes while he himself would be undressed. His voyeurism seems to be the cornerstone of all of this. It is unclear how long he was an active voyeur. It seems odd and somewhat unlikely that he would begin doing such things in his 40s, but regardless, this is what we know about him. Soon, Russell would break into homes when the occupants weren't there, and he would steal the underwear of the female residents. He would even steal the underwear of a 9-year-old girl. What Russell would also do would be to document the things he did within the home in his journal and by taking photographs of himself. In some photographs, he can be seen masturbating on the bed of a young girl. As if this wasn't terrifying and disgusting enough, sometimes Russell would even leave notes for his victims. On one girl's computer, he simply wrote "Merci" after he stole her underwear and rummaged through her room. Once Russell had taken the undergarments, he photographed himself wearing them as well as performing sexual acts in them. His compulsion to break in and steal the personal effects of women was insatiable. He would spend his nights repeatedly breaking into the homes of his neighbors. Sometimes he would take nothing at all, and other times he would steal all the articles of underwear belonging to women in the home, and also things like sex toys. Russell's perversion was growing. Almost as quickly and largely as his list of victims he was accumulating in Ottawa and Tweed. Authorities were well aware that they had a serial burglar on their hands, one that had a clear fetish for undergarments. He was becoming infamous and known as the Tweed Creeper. However, at this time there was not a connection between the incidents happening in Ottawa and in Tweed. Not yet, anyway. By 2009, Russell's need to do more than steal underwear and commit perverted sexual acts in the rooms of the homes he burglarized finally came to a boiling point. In September of 2009, Russell would break into the home of a sleeping woman and her infant child. Russell would beat this woman while her child slept and repeatedly raped her over the course of 2 hours. Within the same month, he would commit a similar crime while he was in Ottawa. During both assaults, Russell would bind the woman's hands, and he would also take photos of them throughout the duration of the attack. 2 months later, in November of 2009, Russell Williams would commit his first murder. He would break into the home of an acquaintance named Marie-France Como. The pair had met on a flight that they were both working on and briefly spoke to one another. During this break-in, Russell would brutally beat and rape Marie-France. She fought him as hard as she could, but eventually he would suffocate her to death by placing duct tape on her mouth and nose. At the end of January in 2010, Russell would break into the home of 27-year-old Jessica Lloyd. Similarly to his attack on Marie France, Russell would beat and rape Jessica, but instead of leaving her in her home, he would force her to come with him back to his home in Tweed. While in Tweed, Russell would continue to assault Jessica. She tried to be as compliant as possible in the hopes that he would release her. He had covered her eyes with duct tape so she had not seen his face. Unfortunately, Russell had other intentions. He would beat Jessica over the head with a flashlight and then suffocate her to death. He would leave her body in his garage at his home in Tweed before heading to work for the day, and then spending the weekend in Ottawa with his wife. When he finally returned to his cottage in Tweed, he would gather Jessica's body and dump her in a wooded area. At this point, Russell is confident that he will never be caught. He has gotten away with salacious crimes over numerous years, and now he had committed 2 murders with no end to his crimes in sight. Thankfully, he was wrong about that. Jessica Lloyd's body had not been found, so her case was considered a disappearance. The Ontario Provincial Police, or the OPP, were doing everything in their power to try and find Jessica. What they initially discovered by her house were unique tire treads, so the OPP put in place a canvass of any motorist who used the highway by Jessica's home. On February 4th, 2010, around 6 a.m., Russell Williams was stopped while driving his Nissan Pathfinder, the same vehicle he used the night of Jessica's abduction. During his stop, Russell tried to speed up the process by saying he was on his way home due to his young child being sick, or something along those lines. Whatever excuse he gave, it didn't matter. The OPP noted that his tire treads were unique, and they matched the tracks found near Jessica's home. His vehicle also matched the one seen by witnesses on the night Jessica was abducted. These facts got the OPP's attention. Russell Williams would be brought in for questioning on February 7th, 2010. What you're about to hear are excerpts from that interrogation with OPP Detective Sergeant Jim Smith.
All right, and again, like I said, this interview is going to be very thorough. But again, I have a simple rule when I talk to people. It's I'm sure you're the same way. I treat everybody with respect. I know I ask if they do the same for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by going through what your rights are, okay? Just like everybody else, okay? Have you ever read your rights before?
No.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen it on TV a whole bunch of times, but that's usually the American version, so I'll go over with you briefly, okay? Basically in Canada, as you know, I'm sure, is we all have our rights guaranteed under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, okay? Now, Russell, just to avoid any confusion, because people do get confused when they're talked to by the police, is that you're obviously not under arrest here today, okay? Anytime you feel you want to leave here, you feel free to do so. The door's not locked. Teresa will walk you down to the lobby anytime you want, okay? If there's anything that comes up in our interview today, Russell, that you feel you want to talk to a lawyer about, you just let me know, okay? And the reason for that is I want to explain to you exactly what's going on here, okay? Jessica Lloyd is one of 4 cases that we're currently investigating, okay? And essentially what's happened is over the past about 4 or 5 months, there have been 4 occurrences that, like I said, that we're looking into. 2 of those occurrences occurred in September of 2009. And very briefly, they were up in the Tweed area. They involved somebody entering 2 different women's houses in the evening hours and committing sexual acts. Okay. In November of 2009, a young lady by the name of Marie France Como was found murdered in her home in Brighton. And we believe that there was a sexual component to that crime as well. And then most recently we have Jessica Lloyd's disappearance. Okay, so essentially when you're looking at those kind of crimes, we're looking at a number of different potential criminal charges. All right, we're looking at issues all the way from the most serious one, which is first-degree murder, kidnapping, sexual assault, break and enter with intent to commit sexual assault, forcible confinement. Okay. And so what I want to make sure you understand, and this is what we've been doing with everybody we've been talking to, is that clearly when we find out who's responsible for one or all of those crimes, they could be charged with one or all of those offenses, okay, whether it's you or whether it's anybody else, all right? And that's why it's important that we make sure that people understand what they have to do and what they don't have to do when they're talking to us. Okay? So as I said before, any point today you feel the need, you want to speak to a lawyer, you let me know, and we can take you to a room where you can do that in private. Okay?
Okay.
Do you have your own lawyer?
I have a realty lawyer, but
Okay.
no, I don't have a lawyer.
All right. If at any point you want to make that call and you don't know who to call, we have a phone list of lawyers that are available to give you advice free of charge right over the phone.
Okay.
So again, if at any point today you want to take advantage of that, you just let me know.
Sure.
Is there any reason you want to call a lawyer now?
No.
Okay. A couple other fairly simple and straightforward things that you probably understand, but again, we go over them to make sure everybody's clear, is that you don't have to speak to me today. Okay? And the reason for that is because the law considers me to be what we refer to as a person of authority. Okay, probably similar to what you may be considered to be on the base. And because of that, I can be compelled to appear before any judge in the country, basically, to account for what takes place here today between you and I. Okay, and that's the reason why everything's recorded, because there can't be any more accurate record than that, right? So.
No, understood.
And the other thing I want to make sure you understand is that you mentioned a second ago about Miss Como being one of your work associates. So I don't know what's happened since November on the military side of things. But what we want to make people clear on is that if you have been spoken to by any person in authority or any police officer about any of those cases, I don't want what they may have said to you to make you feel influenced or compelled to say anything to me today, okay? Whatever you might have felt influenced or compelled to say to them earlier, you don't have to repeat it to me and you don't have to say anything further.
Throughout the interrogation, Russell has his arms tightly crossed on his chest. The detective asks him about his whereabouts during the night of Jessica Lloyd's disappearance.
So just getting back to these 4 incidents that we're talking about, maybe you could just give me a little bit of history as to your arrival in the base in Trenton. When did you start working there?
Friday on the day, I was Friday on the day I was at home most of the time. Most of the day I had a sort of a stomach flu.
Okay. In Ottawa or Tweed?
Tweed.
In Tweed? Okay.
Yeah.
So we backtrack then. So all day Friday, you're at home.
Yep.
And then what time do you leave to go to the base to sleep there on the Friday night?
Not sure. Probably just went in for just before bed. So I probably left Tweed at between 8 and 9 or so.
Okay. And you get to the base and spend the evening there and get up for the 5:30.
Yep.
Okay.
That's right.
So we backtrack from there. When did you arrive at your home at the cottage? I don't want to get confused between your home in Ottawa and the home in Tweed. So,
no, I had been in Tweed all week.
Yeah.
The week prior now. Yeah, I think that's the case. I was in Tweed all week. Flew Saturday. Headed to Ottawa Saturday night.
Okay. So if you didn't have the stomach flu on the Friday, what was your schedule that day?
8, right.
Okay.
What would have been my schedule? Just a standard schedule in the office.
Okay.
So, ops brief in the morning, a couple of meetings. I can't remember what the specifics were going to be.
Okay. So Thursday night you slept at Tweed, or you?
Yep.
All right. And what did you do Thursday during the day?
Thursday during the day, I was at the base again. I think it was a fairly standard day. I can't recall exactly, but yeah, nothing. I was not flying, so I was at the base. So I would have gone in early in the morning, back in the evening again.
Okay. Do you remember what time you left the base that night?
I don't remember anything peculiar, so I would say, I don't know, probably 7 to 9, somewhere in that range.
That's when you left.
Left the base, yeah.
And what
That's a 45-minute transit. So.
45 minutes home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, I'm not going to walk you through November, but I'm going to take you to a date that's probably pretty fresh in your mind. The day that Marie-France Como.
Yeah.
Do you remember how you found out?
I do. Yeah, I was sent an email. Well, as soon as the ops staff and the base learned, they told me.
Okay.
So I got an email. I can't remember if it was late at night, early in the morning. It was certainly. I saw it. I want to say first thing in the morning because I had just come back from Ottawa.
Authorities know that Russell is involved in some way, but during the beginning of the interview, he remained firm that he did not know Jessica Lloyd and had only met Marie-France once. Russell most likely was confident that he would get away with his crimes, so much so that he willingly agreed to give up his DNA and even his shoes to have them molded for a print.
What would you be willing to give me today to help me move past you in this investigation?
What do you need?
Well, would you be willing to supply things like fingerprints, blood samples,
Sure.
things like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Footwear impressions?
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing that Russell asked the detective is that he give him some discretion. He doesn't want people to know he is there and being questioned about these crimes.
Can I assume you're going to be discreet?
It's possible. Yeah.
Because this would have a very significant impact on the base if they thought you thought I did this.
Well, bottom line, Russell, that's one of the reasons we're here on a Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
The military certainly be of great assistance to us, especially in relation to Miss Como's investigation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's certainly one of the things that went into our decision to give you a call at home today and see if we could deal with this today.
Okay.
So.
Detective Jim Smith keeps pushing Russell, asking him if he has any relations to the victims whatsoever.
This is a significant investigation, as you can well imagine.
Yeah.
That DNA is going to be significant in our investigation, both quite possibly to help you, quite possibly to help us.
Understood.
I don't know yet. I don't know what the result is yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go back to the example I gave you because it's a very similar issue, I think. And you talked about the idea of discretion here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about the idea that I think hopefully you appreciate the fact of how we approached you here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And essentially, we have no issues with that. Okay. We talked recently about the whole idea of any unusual sex acts in your history.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing that can often happen in cases like this is that people become concerned about things like extramarital affairs, indiscretions along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any contact that you may have had with any of those four women that you may not want your wife to be aware of? Anything like that we should know about to try and explain why, if your DNA is found, it would help us understand why it may be there?
Absolutely not.
Can you think of any reason why we would find your DNA in any of those residences? Let's focus on, well, for instance, I believe, let me just check the name there, make sure I've got the right address. Talking about the house that was just a couple of doors down from you there in Tweed.
A couple of doors down was
the,
Lori. I don't know her last name. I don't know.
Mazzacati?
I don't even know what her last name is, but there's the woman down the road, 3 doors down.
Yeah.
Her name is Lori. I don't know her last name.
All right, let me just make sure we're on the same page here. My understanding is she lived at 76 Cozy Cove. Yeah, so she would be the second one, the second incident on your road there.
Yeah.
A couple of doors down. Ever been in her house?
No. We met her once, I think the first summer we were there, so in 04.
Okay. And that's what I'm getting at. Again, this is a credibility issue, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to come and see you 2 weeks from now and say, Russ, our CSI people went in that house. And are you familiar with how DNA works?
I think broadly, yes. I would guess so.
One of the challenges we have in 2010 with DNA is it's become so precise that I guess the best way to explain it is I can think back 15 years ago when I started in in violent crime investigation.
Yeah.
For us to get a DNA match, the sample we had to find was, probably would have filled half of one of these cups.
Okay.
Because they destroy so much of the sample in the testing.
Okay.
Essentially, DNA has become more and more precise to the point where, when you and I walked in this room earlier today, we could have sat down, talked for 30 seconds, walked out. CSI officer could have come in 3-4 days from now, done some swabs here, and he would have found your DNA and my DNA, and probably a lot of other people's DNA.
Sure.
A little bit gross to think about, but essentially, as we talk, a little bit aspirate comes out of our mouth that contains our DNA, our bloods, or our skin cells contain our DNA, and that's what I'm getting at. If you were ever in Laurie's residence, quite possibly, quite innocently, your DNA could be in that residence. Has there ever been a time you've been in there? No. Okay. What about the other lady down the road on?
I hadn't even heard that name, so no, I don't actually know who that was.
Okay. Have you ever visited Marie France Como at her residence?
No.
Okay. All right. So you're quite positive there would be no reason why your DNA would be in any of those 3 locations. Okay. Did you know Jessica Lloyd even in passing for any reason?
No, I didn't hear her name till it was on the news.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking that is because I know you were asked that question on Thursday night, and sometimes what we find, and again, this is one of those situations that can sometimes cause us to get in a lengthy investigation as somebody that maybe doesn't deserve it. But what can happen sometimes is somebody gets stopped by the police like you did, and they get asked that question, and people, when they're stopped by the police, they can be nervous, okay? So they blurt out an answer, and then they start driving away, and they go, oh, why'd I do that? Because the problem is that once they get asked again, then they feel compelled to maintain that answer for fear that if they change their answer, somebody could find it. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay. So I want to make sure that's not happening here. I don't care what you said to the officers on Thursday night last week. If there's any communication or contact between you and Jessica Lloyd, you've seen her picture, right, around town?
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Ever seen her before?
I don't. No, I would say I have not.
Okay. All right.
Smith does his best to try and establish a timeline that will clear Russell's name. He attempts to determine his whereabouts by inquiring about Russell's swipe card on the base, among other things.
I think you were talking about the whole idea of the MPs helping us with our investigation, stuff like this. You have the same system as we do at our headquarters with the swipe cards. One of the things one of our investigators did is they made a call while I was talking to you there because we were trying to work through that week of the 23rd of November.
Okay.
23rd being the Monday, 24th being the Tuesday.
Okay.
What they've told us is that, and I want to make sure I get this right, is that on the 23rd, your swipe card was being used at the base. Okay.
Okay.
On Tuesday 24th, there was no use of your swipe card.
Okay.
And then on the following days, the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there was what appeared to be average activity of your swipe card on the base. Does that make sense to you?
It does. That says that I was in Ottawa on the Tuesday.
Okay. Do you remember where in Ottawa you were?
Yeah, I was in Gatineau with, as I said, meeting about the C-17.
Okay. Now, again, I want to be fair to you here. We're going back 2 months.
Yeah.
Are you sure that would have been the day you were in Ottawa?
Well, only because I wasn't at the base.
Okay.
So I can't remember, honestly, that's the day I had the meeting in Ottawa, but if I wasn't at the base, it was because I was here.
Okay. Now, if that is the day you had a meeting in Ottawa, do you remember being at the base on the Monday, the 23rd, and swiping your card in and out? Do you remember what you would have done that evening to get to Ottawa for that meeting? Like, would it be...
I drove to Ottawa in the morning of the day of my meeting, so if it was the Tuesday, then I would have left Tweed. It was a very foggy morning.
Okay.
That morning. I drove in that morning.
Okay.
So I would not have been at the base the day I was in Ottawa, because the meeting started at 8:30 or something.
Okay, so you leave the base, you would have went home to your residence in Tweed?
Yep.
And then you left Tweed in the morning and drove up to your meeting in Ottawa?
Yep.
Okay. You leave the meeting in Ottawa is a daytime meeting, evening meeting, or do you remember?
Yeah, it was a daytime meeting. Finished, I don't know, mid-afternoon or so.
Okay.
We had lunch and then finished. I think my wife and I had dinner because she was here for work, and then I headed back.
Okay. Well, these are the kind of things I'm trying to draw out here. That's helpful to us. Do you remember where you had dinner?
Well, I don't remember exactly the restaurant, but it was in Westboro because that's where our house was being built at the time. So we had dinner, in a restaurant that we would expect to be able to frequent once the house was finished.
Okay. Remember how you paid?
One of us would have paid by MasterCard. Yeah.
Okay. Are you sure about that, or?
Pretty sure. That's normally how we pay for meals.
All right.
Can't remember if it was me or my wife that paid, but one of us.
Okay. And do you remember which restaurant it was again?
No.
Okay. All right. And you see what I'm getting at, right? I mean, that can be very helpful for us because we can track that issue, right? We can put somebody paying for a meal at a location.
Well, I was meeting with 15 people or so that day. So.
Okay. And what time did the meeting end?
I would say between 3 and 4.
Okay. And are you sure that that's the same day you went out with your wife?
Well, I think so. Yeah, because she was here, and I think that was the day we went to this restaurant in Westboro, yes.
Okay. You finished dinner, and do you remember what you did that evening?
I would have driven back to Tweed.
Okay. And you would have... Now, again, I know we're talking 2 months ago here, but do you remember specifically having dinner and then driving back to Tweed, or do you remember, are you just guessing here?
No, I'm not really guessing. I mean, I believe that this night at this restaurant was following the meetings in Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
What Russell doesn't realize, and it is one of the reasons as to why he is being questioned, is because his Pathfinder was seen driving off-road near Jessica's house. When asked if this was him, he said no. Despite this, the detective doesn't lie to him and tells Russell that a lot of the evidence is pointing back to him.
I told you when I came in here that I'm going to treat you with respect, and I've asked you to do the same for me. We talked about the whole idea of how we've approached you here, okay? The trying to be as discreet as possible, okay? But the problem is, Russell, is every time I walk out of this room, there's another issue that comes up, okay? And it's not issues that point away from you; it's issues that point at you, okay? And I want you to see what I mean, all right? This is the footwear impression of the person who approached the rear of Jessica Lloyd's house on the evening of the 28th and 29th of January.
Yeah.
Okay? All right? Now, I want you to keep in mind that this is slightly smaller, okay, in scale. Okay?
Okay.
All right? That's not to scale. The footwear is actually bigger.
Okay.
If you look here on the ruler, you'll see that 1 inch is just slightly smaller than an actual inch. Okay? But this is the way it prints off on the computer.
Yeah.
I'm going to move this over so you can see what I mean, all right? Because essentially, when you're dealing with footwear impressions, we have a gentleman on the OPP who's basically world-renowned. His name is John Norman. And essentially, with footwear impressions, you're in a situation where you're pretty much in the area of fingerprints, okay? And essentially, what we're talking about here is, especially when you start adding in other pieces of information that support an investigative position.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a photocopy of the boot that you took off your foot just a little while ago. Okay. Now, I'm not an expert in footwear impressions, so I rely on the experts. Footwear impressions are very much like fingerprint comparisons. Okay. You take a look at this print, and again, this is one print. This person walked through, there's several different prints to compare. So we're going to get features off of one print to compare, features off another print to compare.
Yeah.
These are identical. Okay. Your vehicle drove up the side of Jessica Lloyd's house. Your boots walked to the back of Jessica Lloyd's house on the evening of the 28th and 29th of January. Okay? You want discretion. We need to have some honesty, okay? Because this is getting out of control really fast, Russell. Okay, really, really fast. This is getting beyond my control. All right, I came in here a few hours ago and I called you the way I called you today because I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I both know you were at Jessica Lloyd's house, and I need to know why.
When presented with a plethora of evidence against him, Russell is stumped into silence. You can see him trying to remain stoic, but he's working out what to do in his head. At this point in the interrogation, Detective Smith lets Russell know that a search warrant has been issued to look into his home, but more importantly, his wife is now aware of what's going on with him. Detective Jim Smith is outstanding during this questioning. He knows exactly how to work Russell without spooking him into silence or lawyering up. He gently kneads on the fact that Russell clearly loves control, and he works that trait against him. He presents Russell with the option to confess to his crimes. Russell, sitting there still silently, staring at the floor with his arms crossed, has very few options at this point.
You know there's only one option. What other option is there?
What's the option?
Well, I don't think you want the cold-blooded psychopath option. I might be wrong. Okay? Because don't get me wrong, I've met guys who actually kind of enjoyed the notoriety, got off on it. Got off on having that label. Bernardo being one of them. I don't see that in you. If I saw that in you, I wouldn't be back in here talking to you, quite frankly. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you got me fooled. I don't know. This is over. And it can have a bad ending, where Jessica's parents continue to wonder where her daughter's lying. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's a huge search still underway, and it'll continue. It'll continue until her body's found. That might even happen tonight, for all I know.
Again, the detective pushes him and asks him, what is he going to do? Russell remains silent for a time and repeatedly sighs before saying, you can just call me Russ.
Russ, maybe this would help. Can you tell me what the issue is you're struggling with?
Russell goes on to explain that his main concern is what this whole situation is going to do to his wife and what they're going to do to the house. He doesn't want detectives to destroy the house looking for evidence because the one in Ottawa is his wife's dream home. He wants to keep it that way. The detectives begin to talk to him about what evidence they are going to find and how easily they will be able to recover things that may have been deleted from things like computers or hard drives, SD cards on cameras. At this notion, Russell begins to feverishly rub his forehead in distress. He states again how he wants to minimize the impact this whole thing has on his wife, to which the detective asks him to tell him where Jessica's body is.
So what am I doing, Russ? I put my best foot forward here for you, bud. I really have. I don't know what else to do to make you understand the impact of what's happening here. Did we talk?
minimize the impact on my wife.
So do I.
So how do we do that?
Well, we start by telling the truth.
Okay.
So where is she?
Got a map?
Is she close to where she lives? I've got maps of that general area. Which town is she near? Why don't we start there?
I'm not sure if you give me a map of that covers Calabar down to the highway and over to Tweed and south, I'll show you.
Let me see what I got here. I might have something. Is she inside, outside? It's probably the biggest area I have there, Russ.
You need more. You need a real map.
So where am I going on here to get to her?
In this block here.
Okay. So you're pointing to.
A detailed map of that area, and I'll show you where she is.
Okay. Is she close to a road?
Yep.
All right. Is it something where is she buried, or is she somewhere where if you walk there you would fairly easily see her?
It's here.
Okay. So she's south of 7, east of Tweed,
Mm-hmm.
west of 41.
Mm-hmm.
And what's this road here?
Not sure.
Neither am I. Okay. I'll be right back, okay? Do you want any water or anything?
Sure.
Okay. I'll be right back. How long has she been there for?
A little over a week.
Was it fairly quick from the time she left?
Friday night.
Russell shows the detective on multiple maps where her body is located, and then begins to describe what happened to Jessica on the night of her kidnapping and murder.
What do you want to talk about?
It's pretty wide open now. What do you want to know?
Well, do you want to work forwards or backwards?
Doesn't matter.
Why don't we start with Jessica? How does that start for you?
I saw her in her house on her crib night. Wednesday night, I guess. And I noticed she wasn't there Thursday. So I got into the house to look around. And I left. Noticed she'd come home. So I went back in. Through the back patio door. While she was sleeping. So I woke her up. Didn't hit her. She only hit her once. Friday night. Well, so I raped her in her house, and then I took her to the car and took her to Tweed. And spent the day in Tweed. And then I hit her as we were walking. She thought we were leaving. Hit her on the back of the head. Okay.
He then begins to describe the murder of Marie France.
There was an open window in the basement of her house when she was away. I went in there a couple of nights before she came home. Looked around. I went back in there late at night when she was at home. She was on the phone in her bedroom. She actually discovered me in the basement. She was trying to get her cat to come upstairs, and the cat was in the basement, had seen me and was fixated on me in the corner. She couldn't get the cat up, so she came downstairs to try and get the cat, and I'm not more sure why she came over to me. I guess the cat was staring at me, and she was wondering what the cat was staring at. Lights were on. So when she spotted me, I had the same flashlight. I subdued her. Tied her up. Brought her upstairs. And strangled her later in the morning. Well, more suffocated her. Some tape. Left her there.
How did you subdue her? And when you say subdued her in the basement, what did you do?
Well, I had the same flashlight, and she saw me right away, so it was just hit her a couple of times and around her head, try and knock her out. Didn't, but she was bleeding a little bit. Eventually, after a struggle, subdued her.
Any blood from that struggle?
Oh yeah. No, not a whole bunch, but the flashlight did break her skin a couple of times.
Okay. What area of the basement did that take place in?
I was hiding behind the furnace, so she spotted me right there.
Okay. Did she recognize you?
No, I had stuff on my face.
So you go upstairs, and you said she suffocated?
Well, I suffocated her. I put tape on her. I put tape on her mouth, and then I put tape on her nose and held it there so she couldn't breathe.
What kind of tape was it?
Duct tape.
What happened to it?
Well, I took it with me and can't remember what actually I did with that tape, but probably threw it in the garbage.
Did you use tape for any other purposes?
No.
Did she ever recognize you through this whole episode?
No.
What did you say you had on your face?
I had just a cover for my head, just a sports pullover type, like just a little cap kind of thing.
Okay.
Just a lycra or something, and just a headband over my nose and mouth, so it covered most everything but my eyes.
Now this flashlight, where is that now?
And tweed.
In the house?
Yeah.
What kind of flashlight is it?
It's a red 3 double D. I'm not sure what brand it is, but it's a metal, one of these aluminum. It's like a big, I can't remember what brand I know. Aircraft aluminum flashlights I already see on it. Anyway, it's a bigger one of those.
Did you take anything out of Marie France's house or Jessica Lloyd's house?
Yeah, some of their underwear.
Okay.
That's all.
After hearing the details of how Russell committed the crimes, the detective asked the question that was most likely on everyone's mind. Why did he kill them?
Let me ask you this. Did you like or dislike these women?
I didn't know any of them.
Okay.
I had met Maddie France that one time in our airplane.
Okay. Now, I guess when you're going through these things, are you? Well, let's talk about Jessica, because she was there with you for the whole day, right? Mm-hmm. What kind of feelings were you experiencing while you were with her that day?
Oh, she was a very nice girl.
Can you tell me why you killed her? Right. Do you know why you killed her?
Well, I think I killed her because I knew that her story would be recognized.
Her story would be recognized? How do you mean?
Well, because she knew I was taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So because of the two stories in Tweed, that would have been a fairly, been quite obvious.
So if you didn't take pictures, what would you have done with her?
I don't know.
I mean, she's at your house, right? Well, let me ask you this: is it 2 lived, right, and 2 died? What was the difference in your mind between?
Well, the attention the first 2 got was very much focused on, obviously, or for obvious reasons, pictures I took. So anybody else telling stories about pictures, right, would have been a fairly straight line.
Okay, but when this thing happened with Marie France, did you believe that you were already a suspect for what happened in Tweed?
No.
So what were you concerned about?
Well, because I was pretty sure that she was serving military, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would have been difficult for investigators to ignore that connection.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Let's go back to Jessica then, okay? You see her on the Wednesday night, okay, on her treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see her?
She was in the basement, window wide open, on a treadmill. So I drove by.
Okay. Did you stop to look at the house, or how does that catch your eye as you drive by?
Well, I was looking to see who was where. Don't know that area very well, so I was just keeping my eyes open.
During this part of the interview, Russell goes into detail about the rape of Jessica Lloyd, but some things are better left unheard. During the last stretch of the interview, Russell speaks more on the murder of Marie France.
So Marie France, when did it first occur to you to go to her house?
Probably in October, November, not quite sure, but somewhere in that time frame.
And do you remember why you thought to do that?
Well, she had said she lived alone the one time I met her.
Mm-hmm. Just trying to understand why her versus the dozens of other women you probably come across on a daily basis.
I don't know. I went out there when she wasn't home just to see where she lived.
When did you do that?
a couple of nights before.
How did you know her address?
I was on the roll for the basement.
Okay. So when you go out there a couple of nights before, do you remember what night that was when you were there first time?
I don't, but it was within 2 or 3 nights, I think.
Okay.
Well, no more than 4 anyway, something like that.
And did you actually go into her house on that occasion, or did you? Okay. So what happened that night? How'd you get into her house?
This window on the side of the basement. Side window.
Okay. And just to backstep a bit, how did you get to her house that first night you went there?
I drove.
What did you drive?
I think I drove my truck.
Okay.
Pathfinder.
Do you remember where you parked it?
Yep, I parked it. A bit of a division in the residential areas there. I parked it on another side, 600-700 meters away.
Okay. So not on her street, on a different street. Do you remember what street you parked on?
No, but it's actually might be the same street, but there's an interruption in the street where there's a construction zone. So there's a pathway in between. So I think it's probably the same street.
Okay. So you go to her house, and when you went there that night, did you know that she was away?
I'm not sure if I knew entirely, but I think I thought she was away.
Okay. Is that based on her schedule, or how would you know that?
Well, because I fly with the squadron, I have access to the schedule, and
Okay.
it's a slightly different schedule she has, but that's probably how I know.
You don't know for sure?
I think that's probably how I know.
So you go to her house, and what do you do that night, the first night?
I looked around and make sure that she was living there alone.
And I'm sorry, did you say, I can't remember if you said, how did you get in?
Same way. Side basement window.
Side basement window? Okay. Do you remember what kind of window it is? Like what made it,
Well, I just noticed it was, the flashlight, I could see that it was not locked. It had been opened slightly. So I removed the screen, slid it open, went in.
okay. So you go in and you're in her house, figuring out she lives alone, and do you do anything that night?
Yeah, I was playing with her underwear.
You mean playing with her underwear?
Wearing it.
Okay. Doing anything else?
No, I didn't touch her stuff.
What do you mean you didn't touch her stuff? I mean, you touched her underwear, but...
Yeah.
So,
Nothing else.
okay. Did you take any of the underwear with you that night?
Yeah, a few pieces.
And where did you find the underwear when you went in?
In her drawer.
Was it clean? Was it used? Or,
Clean.
anything else you can remember doing that evening that you...
No.
All right. So, after that first visit, did you return again before meeting up with her?
No.
Okay. So, which day did you go to her house when she was there?
Well, the night before I went to Ottawa, so I think that was Monday night.
So let's walk through that. What time do you think you got there?
About 11 or so, probably. 10:30, 11.
Okay.
Yeah, so she was on the phone in her room. You could hear that from the backyard. I got in through the side window.
The same basement window?
Mm-hmm.
How could you hear from the backyard? What was...
Just hear her on the phone. Front beside the house. Could hear her through the walls that she was on the phone.
Any idea who she was talking to or what she was talking about?
Couldn't hear that one.
Okay. So you go in through the basement window. And what are you wearing when this is happening?
Sweatshirt and Dockers, I guess. And the 2 pieces on my head.
And where are those 2 pieces now? Pieces that you wore on the head.
They're probably in my bag, in my luggage bag in Edison, in the bedroom.
What's your luggage bag look like?
It's a blue duffel bag type thing. It's right beside the bed.
Is it the only blue duffel bag in your bedroom?
Mm-hmm.
And these pieces, what do they look like again?
It's a blue headband.
Okay.
Standard blue, winter headband. And black skull cap type thing.
Any insignias or anything on them?
Yeah, there are, but I don't know what they are. The blue headband has something stitched, a name of some sort stitched on it. And the skull cap has some sort of white emblem on the black. I don't know what it is.
Are they like sports emblems or company emblems or?
It's the manufacturer's.
Okay. Anything else in that blue duffel bag?
I think so.
Is it full of things other
Just my clothes.
than? Okay. So you go in. Do you remember what you had on your feet?
In the house there?
When you went to Marie France's house?
Probably running shoes. There wasn't snow on the ground.
So you go in and you're in the basement. And whereabouts in the basement are you?
By the furnace.
Okay. And what are you doing? What's your sort of plan at that point?
I was waiting for her to go to bed.
Okay. And how long did that take?
Well, she didn't. Because then she came down looking for the cat.
All right. And what happens next?
Well, as I described, I subdued her. Gave her the flashlight. Essentially, wrestled her to the ground and tied her up.
And what did you use to tie her up?
Same rope, green rope. It's in tweed.
Is it just green or how long is this piece of rope?
It's probably 20 feet. It's a boat rope. It's got some red specks in it, I think.
Okay. Is there lots of ropes in tweed, or is this probably the only rope?
No, there are two lengths.
2 lengths of the same green rope? And were they both used?
Well, I only ever had one with me, so I don't know if I used the same piece both times or not, but only 2
So you tie her up. How did you tie her up after you subdued her? Okay. And what is she wearing at that point?
She wasn't wearing anything to start with.
So when she came down to the basement, she had no clothes on?
She had some sort of a shawl over her shoulder.
Okay.
Which she immediately dropped when she saw me.
Did she say anything when she saw you?
She did. She called out, "You bastard."
Okay. And then what happened?
Then I subdued her as I described.
By hitting her with that red flashlight?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Although they were more glancing blows. Cut her skin, but weren't doing much else.
Okay.
She fell over and then I subdued her. She tripped.
How did you tie her at that point? Like, I know you used the rope, but what did you tie her up like?
Just pulled her hands behind her back and just tied her wrists together.
Okay. And then what happened after that?
And then I took her upstairs.
Did she go upstairs under her own power, or did you carry her?
No, she passed out on the stairs. And then I carried her up.
Why do you think she passed out?
I expect from the hits to her head.
So you carried her up to where?
To her bedroom, put her on the bed.
And then what happened?
Well, as I described, I think she's on the bed. I raped her over a period of time.
During the trial, more details of Russell Williams' crimes were revealed due to the fact that Russell had videotaped large chunks of his time with Jessica and Marie-France. Some of the details refer to the extent of the sexual assaults and the coldness Russell showed both of the women he murdered. Marie-France brutally fought back against Russell. She called him a bastard and was not going to go quietly into the night while he did what he planned on doing. Unfortunately, Russell was just able to overpower her after he got the jump on her. Marie-France would state towards the end of the attack, "You're going to kill me, aren't you? Have a heart. I don't want to die. I don't deserve to die. I have been good." Clearly, Russell Williams had no heart. During Jessica Lloyd's abduction, she would have a seizure, something that she was prone to during high-stress situations. During the seizure, she begged for him to take her to the hospital because she thought she was going to die, but Russell refused. Before Russell killed her, Jessica would say, "If I die, will you make sure my mom knows I love her?" Russell then proceeded to kill her. The fact that Russell documented so much of his crimes made it easy for authorities to link him to multiple burglaries as well as the murders of Marie-France and Jessica Lloyd. In October of 2010, Russell Williams would plead guilty to all charges against him. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of sexual assault, 2 counts of forcible confinement, and 82 counts of break-ins and attempted break-ins. On October 21, 2010, Colonel Russell Williams was sentenced to 2 life terms with no chance of parole for 25 years for the murders of Marie-France Como and Jessica Lloyd. He was also sentenced to an additional 82 years, 1 year for each of his other charges. During the final proceedings, Williams was given the opportunity to address the court and the public. He said, "Your Honor, I stand before you indescribably ashamed. I know the crimes I have committed have traumatized many people. The family and friends of Marie-France and Jessica, in particular, have suffered and continue to suffer profound, desperate pain and sorrow as a result of what I've done. Numerous victims of the break-and-enters I have committed have been seriously distressed as a result of my having so invaded their most intimate privacy. My family, Your Honor, has been irreparably damaged. The understandable hatred that was expressed yesterday, and that has been palpable throughout the week, has me recognize that most will find it impossible to accept, but the fact is, I deeply regret what I have done and the harm I know I have caused to many. I committed despicable crimes, Your Honor, and in the process betrayed my family, my friends, and colleagues, and the Canadian Forces. After the trial, Russell Williams' wife, Mary Elizabeth, filed for divorce. She has never made a public statement in regards to the actions of her husband and has maintained that she knew nothing about the crimes he was committing. Russell would also reach out-of-court financial settlements with members of his victims' families for undisclosed amounts. The Canadian Forces would denounce Russell Williams in every way that they could, and rightfully so. They would burn his military uniform and strip him of his rank of colonel. However, he is still legally entitled to receive his military pension. Russell Williams was a different breed of deviant. It can be assumed that if he was not found out for what he was, he would never have stopped. His thirst for control, power, and sexual perversion was not something he could ever quench, and he is exactly where he belongs, away from the world and those he could hurt. Russell Williams, a Jekyll and Hyde if there ever was one, is living out the remainder of his days at a maximum security prison in Quebec.
I'd just like to say that it's good that justice is done for Jessica, for Marie France, for the 2 victims in Tweed, and for all the victims of his break-and-enters. And I'm glad it's over. We're just all thankful that it is over and we can maybe now start to get on with our lives.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Apex and the Abyss. If you would like to reach out to the show, please feel free to write an email to apexandabyss@gmail.com. You can also find the show on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook if you prefer to communicate that way. You can also submit episode suggestions as well as find links to everything mentioned above in the show notes and at apexandabyss.com, as well as a link to another show I co-host called Monster Madness. If you would like to support the show, you can do that in many ways. You can head on over to Apple Podcasts and submit a rating and review. This costs you nothing but a few moments of your time, and it is greatly appreciated. You can buy show merch at tpublic.com, and lastly, you can become a monthly donor at patreon.com or become a member of the Apex and the Abyss community over at Himalaya Plus. Again, thank you so much for listening to the show and for your support in telling these stories. Until next time.
We said it earlier this week, all Canadians are stunned by the tragic events that led to the conviction of Russell Williams. The members of the Canadian Forces felt it to the core. It is important to acknowledge that diligent police work ended this terrible pattern of violence, and we in the Canadian Forces want to express our gratitude to the police forces involved. With the conviction confirmed by the court, the Canadian Forces are now able to take action, including the prompt release of Russell Williams from the armed forces, the termination and clawback of his pay from the date of arrest, the removal of his medals, and all other measures available to us. To be clear, it will not be a separate military court-martial, as Canadian law clearly states that there cannot be 2 trials for the same crime. I also wish to point out that under the Superannuation Act, there are no grounds to revoke his pension, and that a court-martial will not have any impact on these accrued benefits. I spent this morning here meeting with personnel of 8 Wing and with members of the local communities. In the face of the statement of facts read in court and widely reported by the media, all of us are reflecting on the events that have taken place and are having trouble finding the right words to express our feelings. The end of this trial and the upcoming sentencing will allow us, military and civilians alike, to have a form of closure and to know, or to now begin, to focus on healing. We recognize the need to come together and heal as a community. We are doing everything we can to assist those in need of counseling or other support. In fact, We urged anyone who is feeling upset or concerned to seek assistance and to talk about their emotions. From what I've seen today at 8 Wing, while our morale and sense of cohesion have been shaken, we remain steadfast in our commitment to defending Canada and Canadians. I am so proud of the personnel at 8 Wing. Facing this ordeal, they responded superbly by focusing on the operational mission at hand and by redoubling effort and intensity. All the other Air Force wings across the country look to them as an example of determination. While doing so, we will not forget Marie-France Comeau, Jessica Lloyd, and the other victims and their families. They will remain in our thoughts and prayers forever.